So this is a video that I've been wanting to do for quite some time, mainly because I just had a lot to say on the matter. And I'm also surprised. It's just a sort of a, not really a rebuttal, but in some sense just an awakening to those of you who don't care about storytelling in video games or in any entertainment medium for that matter. And it's really when we go back to the dawn of entertainment, I'm talking like storytelling in the cave. It's at the roots of entertainment, at its very core is storytelling. And it's always been storytelling from the way back olden times. We're talking like caveman days, where people used to sit around and play like charades and would describe things. You're describing a story, you're telling a story to someone else. And there are so many people these days, and especially the younger ones, who just don't have the maturity level or the comprehension to understand storytelling. I mean, from the very beginning of all entertainment, again, going back to the caveman days, it was all about storytelling, and it still to this day is about storytelling. Entertainment is storytelling. Yet you have people these days who, I'm not saying that you have to care about storytelling in general, but you have to recognize it as a necessity, as a core element of of every part of entertainment. And so many people refuse to do that. So many people, when they see a movie, they're like, well, it had lots of explosions, it was fun to watch, I liked it. And it's like, well, what about the story? I guess it was good. I mean, I just really enjoyed the movie. It's people have issues sort of communicating the story of, what they just saw, like whether it be a film or even a video game for that matter. They're like, I mean, I guess I like the game. Well, why did you like the game? Well, it had lots of explosions. The graphics were great. It was a lot of fun to play. I'm not talking about how storytelling is the only thing that matters, because that's definitely not true. That's why we dissect entertainment mediums like video games, like films and stuff. You can't just rate a film based on its story. You can't just rate a game based on its story. There's so many different facets and aspects and categories that fall into making it a coherent, entertaining experience. When we go into films, it's about the cinematography, it's about the music, it's about the acting, it's about the dialogue and how well everything is written and the scenery and everything like that. When we go into games, it's all of that, with the graphical fidelity of what they're showing us, along with how fun it is to play the game. Is it engaging? Is it varied? Is it interesting? And storytelling is just as much of an important part of games as it is gameplay, and it's just as much important part of movies as it is the cinematography and the acting and things like that. I mean, I just want to, I kind of want to throw this out here because I seen, and this is not me knocking anyone who thinks otherwise, all right? But this is just a example that I'm showing. There are a lot of people who really enjoyed Mirror's Edge Catalyst, and I'm one of them. But I had a lot to say on the story for the game, as I felt it was poorly paced. I thought it was rushed. I felt that the story did not bring anything important to the Mirror's Edge lore. It really, what all it did was set up a character. In fact, the game should have been called Mirror's Edge Personal Development, because that's what the story felt like. It felt like it had nothing to do with this amazing world the game was set in. It had nothing to do with the how the people were treated, about the riots and stuff like that. It always had to do with Faith and her sister again. And I just felt it was a poor direction for the story, and I gave that game a very, very critical analysis when it came to the narrative aspect of the game. And a lot of people think that my overall opinion on Catalyst is disappointed, when in fact that's not true. I very much enjoyed the game, but that story, I will still say it to this day, was just awful. It was poor. It was rushed. And I don't see how anyone can defend it and act like this is a worthwhile story to be heard, or even a worthwhile narrative element that should have been made a game out of. I feel like Catalyst's story it could have been like a whole side comic or like a prequel little, but like a prequel tie-in film, like an animated film or something, or just a CGI film that could have been told as a prequel to like the main event of what the Catalyst story should have been. And that being said, you have a lot of people these days, well, I don't play Mirror's Edge for the story, I play Mirror's Edge for the gameplay. I understand. I'm right there with you when I say it. The most important part of a Mirror's Edge game is getting that gameplay down perfectly. However, that does not mean that we can dismiss a poorly written story, as that's just as important as getting down a gameplay. As again, entertainment is storytelling. I remember I was playing the Gears of War 4 beta, and you can see footage of that on my channel. I was streaming it, actually. You have to go to the playlist, the Gears of War 4 beta playlist, to see those streams. And unknowingly, as I was streaming the game, what I had the game open on what I was doing is I was doing a full screen capture on my computer from the Xbox app, having my Xbox One stream to the Xbox app and doing a screen capture from my computer, but playing it on my Xbox One, if that makes sense. Anyway, the computer program detected that I had a microphone plugged in, which I was using to talk and give commentary over stream. And so what the computer did is it said, we're going to use this microphone as an in-game chat. And I was playing this game, and I hear this kid talking, right? And I make a few comments about, wow, we have like little small kids playing this game, and I hear him, replying and stuff like that, saying, oh, dude, shut up, right? And he's probably like 12 years old, but and it was kind of funny when I realized that he could actually hear me and that I was actually talking with him. We kind of got into a conversation, and he made the comment, we were talking about, single player games and multiplayer games, and this was like his first, again, he was like 12 years old, so he never played a Gears of War game before. He never played any of the previous Halo games before. This was like a new experience for him. Like, he got an Xbox 360 when Bungie was already done with the Halo series, and when Gears of War, the trilogy, ended and they made that god-awful Judgment game. But regardless, we got into this conversation about single-player, multiplayer games, and he made this comment to me. He said, well, all single-player games are boring. All playing by yourself is always boring. It's not engaging, it's not fun. And I sat there, and I didn't really explain it to him, but I just made the comment saying that I understand where you get that perspective. And it's because the people who are, young, if you're in that range of like 14, 15, somewhere born after the 2000s, you're probably not going to understand what it was like before. And even I was born in the year 1994, all right? My first console was the Nintendo 64. I also have the original PlayStation. But I didn't game online. I didn't start gaming online until the year 2008. Was it? Yeah, 2008. It was the summer of 2008 when I hooked my PlayStation 3 up to the internet, and the first game I played online was Turok, the Turok reboot they got in 2008. And I had a blast. That was the first time I ever played online. I didn't own an original Xbox, and I didn't have the Ethernet adapters for my old PS2 back in the day. So it was interesting because it was also like a new element to the game, but I never sort of forgot what was important to the meat of the experience, which was experiencing the story, going through these levels, and playing these games. And I had a lot of fun gaming in the past. I'll tell you, it did not matter to me that I was playing with my friends or not. I was having a very engaging time. And I've come to you guys. You guys know that I have this this goal in mind to one day become a game developer. I want to make games. I have these great creative ideas, and my creative ideas are very story-driven games, but at the same time, they're innovative in gameplay to where they push boundaries, to where they can give you a new perspective on what video games can do. But storytelling is such an important part of that element in getting that innovation across, because if we cannot push storytelling, then we're going to be stuck. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, this is why it's so important to have a varied set of characters that also have a varied set of stories. You don't want an action story where, oh, it's the same story that this last game told, or, oh, it's I'm playing another white character, it's You want these varied experiences, because these varied experiences and these varied stories is what is going to encourage developers in the future to go out and to venture into something new. If all we did was not move this industry forward, was just have, okay, we're going to stick with a white character here, we're going to stick with a basic story here, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna, you know, give them the same game that we know sells and that we know that they like, repackage it, go put it out. This is what happens with franchises where storytelling was very important, and it's turned into nothing but, you know, not really a waste of time, but a forgettable experience. If you think of the Call of Duty franchise, let me tell you guys something. Call of Duty in the early days, they had really engaging storylines. You may not believe it, but Call of Duties in the early days had very engaging storylines. I'm not talking about, I mean, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 2, you know, that whole Modern Warfare trilogy had a good storyline, but the original Black Ops also had a very interesting storyline. But if we even go back to the previous days, like Call of Duty 2 and the original Call of Duty, storytelling and storytelling experiences were right at the forefront, right at the core of what this game was trying to do. And nowadays, it's like, well, 4-hour campaign, and we'll put all this multiplayer in, and that's your experience. And you guys, it was not always like that. The Call of Duty campaigns were never just 4 hours. They were never just that short. I mean, it's kind of sad what happened to the franchise. I feel like ever since Call of Duty Ghosts came out, the franchise has just been on a downhill, because Call of Duty Ghosts didn't even provide a very engaging storyline, and not even a very engaging multiplayer. Infinite Warfare provided a decent storyline. It wasn't anything drastic or new. It was very, I guess you could say it was very predictable. The multiplayer was in that, you know, it got a little stale after a while. Black Ops 3, I was hoping was going to bring the storytelling back to Call of Duty, but provided this whack out, crazy, insane, non-coherent, very confusing storyline, which ends, and it ends, and you're like, what the fuck is this? And then the multiplayer in that game was fun, but it wasn't always like that. That's my point. And it's I'm afraid that in the future of this industry is what we're going to get is the same experience like that. A lot of people want to say, oh, single player campaigns are dying. I don't see that. You have so many games these days which have, you know, storylines, and yes, even though some are bare bones and some have very little effort put in compared to their multiplayer parts, they're still there, and people still ask for it. I mean, I'm just look at how many people flipped out at DICE when they did not include a story in Star Wars Battlefront. I mean, think about how many people just were like, oh my god, this is just stupid. I mean, think about Titanfall when that came out. People were like, this is nuts. You can't have a new IP and not have a storyline here. This is completely stupid. Or how many people flipped out at Bungie with the original Destiny. I'm talking about the original Destiny, the base game, where the storyline was just very absent, and it was almost like the game forgot to tell you what you were supposed to be doing, and you just didn't care half of the time. My point is this. Please understand that storytelling is entertainment, and it's always been entertainment. From the dawn of man, cavemen were sitting here like playing with charades and communicating people to tell a cohesive story. Your people, you know, like the old tribal war days with like Indians and crap, they sat around bonfires and they all told stories. Books were written and they tell stories. It doesn't matter if it's a autobiography or you know, something about history or events. When you read the newspaper, you're reading a story about what's happening. Films were made to bring storytelling into a very visible type of style of entertainment. Games were created in a sense to give you that interaction, that you're actually involved in what was going on in the story. This is why video games are the best form of entertainment, the best form of storytelling. They combine the narrative complexity of books, of novels, with the cinematic presentation from films. And then we add the element of interactivity into that. We overall have the recipe to create something amazing, to create an experience that is engaging and that is quite literally, quite possibly, the best way to experience a story when done correctly. And this is why video games and storytelling are so important. This is why throughout history, entertainment and storytelling were always one. So never forget that. Please, I understand that you may like to play with your friends and stuff like that, and you may not look to a story as being like your ultimate deciding purchase factor when it comes to a game. But that, again, does not mean that this is not at the core of the experience, that this is not what entertainment is. It's always been that. Entertainment has always been storytelling, and it's never going to stop being storytelling. Whatever's next after video games for entertainment experiences, I have no freaking clue, but I'll tell you one thing, it's going to be used to convey a story. I promise you that. Alright? You guys let me know what you think. I'd like to hear some comments from a variety of you guys. I know some of you guys have different opinions and different backgrounds when it comes to games, but also storytelling. And I really want to know what you guys think about this matter. And let me know what you guys think about what I said, and any other general thoughts that you guys have. Make sure to write them down in the comments. I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say. You all have a fantastic, fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.
Legit before you move in.
Hope you made those norks at the stronghold suffer.
The KPA have set up a listening outpost in the wreckage of the Finstock warehouse. We cannot allow the Norks to listen in on our communications, or let them pinpoint where we're storing our munitions. Get in there and take it out.
Brady, that's the area. Take those chicken shit snipers out, but watch your ass.